Hey, it's Mel, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, it's lovely to have you here. Today we're going to be looking at the unsolved murder of Allan Graham. This case, there is not a lot of information on it, which is very sad. This 11-year-old boy went to the shop and simply never came back. There's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Allan went missing from Newcastle's West End. His brother Fred Barron has never given up hope that one day he will find out who was responsible for the murder of Allan. Allan had a half-brother who was called Dennis, and he was married to Moira Barron, and she was the last person to see Allan alive. She sadly passed away in 2021. Allan lived in Gateshead with his mum Mary Wells. He and his mum had been spending the weekend of the 23rd of January with Dennis and Moira at their house in Benwell, Newcastle, when he disappeared. Allan's home was only a few miles away from Dennis's. He made the short walk from the house on Gerald Street to a sweet shop at the bottom of the road on the afternoon of Saturday, 24th of January 1970. But sadly, he was never seen alive again. According to reports, Allan was playing that day in the streets with some of his friends, Dave Bryson and Ken Brown, when his mum sent him to the corner shop to buy some cigarettes. Bear in mind that this is 1970, a very different time. Children could pretty much just buy cigarettes from any corner shop and not get ID'd. After Mary sent Allan to the shop to buy some cigarettes, that's when he suddenly vanished. His family and friends searched for him but were unsuccessful. He was then reported missing to the police, who did a wide search. The next day, 25th of January, early morning, Allan was found in a waterlogged ditch on farmland at Callerton Grange Farm, near Pontland, 7 miles away, by a farm worker. Allan was dead. His body was identified by his family. He was strangled, which is very horrific. Police went door to door asking questions, trying to get any new information on what had potentially happened to him. Allan was known as a kind, caring, good boy, and his case was actually featured on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. He really liked pigeons, which is so random, but to each their own. He really took an interest in pigeons, and because of this, local pigeon breeders were questioned. All leads sadly dried up. No suspects were ever named. It's believed Allan was lured to his death as he walked the 50 yards back to his brother's house. Brothers Fred, Dennis and sister Pauline retraced Allan's last known steps as they reflected on the tragedy. There is still a shop at the bottom of this street, but it's no longer a sweet shop. To my knowledge, Allan's house is still standing. Allan's friend Ken Brown came forward in 2014 and claimed to have told police that he and his other friend that day saw a man driving a dark blue van speaking to Allan shortly before he disappeared. The man was described as being a tall white male between the ages of 26 to 30, a slim build, a local accent. The man called Allan by his name and yelled at him to get in the van. This made Ken feel very upset. Allan appeared to know the man. He initially tried to run away. It's been speculated that maybe this man abused Allan. It's unclear whether Allan voluntarily got into the van or he was forced into it. Ken says that he and his friend Dave told a policeman about the van and were promised that the police would return later to interview them both with their parents present, but no one ever did show up to their houses. This was just simply swept under the rug. Ken was backed up by Dave's dad, and he claims that Dave told him the exact same thing. Dave passed away in 2001. The police are still working on this case. It's actively open. Sadly, no DNA profile could be made. The man in the blue van was never questioned by police. Like, why? He seems to be like the prime suspect in this boy's disappearance and murder. Why would you not question him? Bear in mind the guy had a local accent, so he was clearly from the area. This man needed to be looked into more. Allan was clearly afraid of this man. Because the van was blue, this has actually led some people to believe that it was a policeman that abducted and murdered Allan. I don't know if I buy that because there's not much evidence to back this theory up. The police say that whoever kidnapped Allan was likely close to the family. In Newcastle 1970, owning a van or a car was not normal. Most families back then could simply not afford it. and it would be extremely rare for households to own more than one vehicle. The owner of the blue van was clearly a working man who used the van for work. Allan was likely taken to the farm and then killed. It's unclear whether sexual assault occurred, I hope not, and the motive is unknown. We don't know who did this and why they did it. I don't know if Alan's mum, Mary Wells, is still alive. His siblings, Fred, Dennis and Pauline, are still alive, searching for answers. This case is more than 53 years old. Dennis is now 79 years old, Fred is 80 years old. I say the exact same thing when it comes to talking about unsolved cases. Someone knows what happened, like someone has to come forward with new information. That's all for today. That was the unsolved murder of 11-year-old Allan Graham. Leave a comment below what your thoughts are on this case, and as always, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.